Back here in Africa, the conflict in Sudan is lingering, and El Fasher in the western Darfur region is one of the most brutal front lines of the armed conflict. Women who say their children are dying before their eyes are desperately calling for humanitarian intervention, emphasizing their suffering is beyond imagination. Due to the soaring prices of food in El Fasher, many can barely afford a meal. The hunger crisis is compounded by a surge of cholera sweeping through the squalid camps of those displaced by the fighting, which escalated this week into one of the most intense RSF attacks on the city yet. International aid organizations have condemned the situation, saying hunger is being used as a weapon of war. The Sudanese army has been battling the Rapid Support Forces RSF for more than 2 years after the commanders jointly staged a coup and then fell out, leading to a lingering armed conflict. Now, for an analytic look at the conflict in Sudan and its inherent humanitarian crisis, the publisher Inside Watch Africa, Oluwaseyi Adeyemo, joins me here in the studio. Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Sudan, I mean, for what we call maybe the umpteenth time, we're talking about Sudan, and it's even good that it's in the news this time. But that position of international aid organizations that hunger is being used as a weapon of war is quite troubling. What's your reaction to that?
First, I will say that I'm glad that at least we have some kind of good talk coming out of between Israel and Gaza, because if you look at these stories, they're almost like the same. Now, you can have a war going on and people shooting at themselves, regularly and not have hunger, because then you will be taking out food. You'll be taking out the providers of food. There can be famine, there can be buying or selling. And most often, and this has happened over and over again, you would always have the most vulnerable, which are women and children, suffering the most. It's unfortunate that this war, in my opinion, was avoidable. These are people who had worked together, who were in the same camp, and for whatever happened as a disagreement, one will have thought that they could have solved that problem in a better way rather than go to war. Because most often, when it starts, you never really can tell when it will end. And the moment it starts, you take people's livelihood away from them. They can't do any business again. They can't do any sensible thing again other than to start to run helter-skelter all over the place. And that's the situation we have in Sudan, and we've had it for close to 3 years now.
So what do you think it would take for Generals Goita and Al-Burhan to help their people, to end this war?
Truth is, I believe that it has gotten to a point where we will need international intervention. Like you have a Trump breathing down the neck of Putin right now, and is talking and getting involved in it and really breathing down their neck. I think sometimes when people get it off their head that the only way to solve a problem is to shoot down the other person, they never really ever come to terms until they are able to achieve it. And in most cases, they never do. What they end up doing is impoverish, destroy, and just destroy the whole place. So I'm hoping that we would get the same attention that Israel is getting right now, and what's the name of this country that is fighting Russia? Ukraine is getting, and they're able to get the global people come on the table and say, look, this must stop. We cannot continue with this carnage. It is wrong. You're killing your people, you're killing your children, you're killing your wife. I don't think, because right now it seems to me that something is blocking the ears of both generals, and they feel that the only way to solve this problem is to continue to kill themselves.
When you talk about the global people, who or what are you talking about? You're talking about the UN, talking about AU, or talking about individual countries that might want to step in and help the people?
Of course, you can have individual countries, because their neighbors already are suffering enough, because you then have a lot of people leaving their countries into Chad and the rest of their neighboring countries. So I'm referring to the US. If we like it or not, they are the police of the world. I'm referring to AU, I'm referring to UN. So rather than stay back and talk, I think we've gotten to a point in the world right now where we can't only talk. When the situation gets to this point, like we used to do with ECOMOG, I think we should go back to that point where there's a special force that can move in and say, guys, enough is enough. What you're doing is against humanity. We cannot continue to condone this. You must stop this. That, I think, is the only way to solve this problem, because then you will wait till they wreak the havoc, and you say maybe after 10 years you then want to take them to court and all of that. The point is, so what do you get out of that? Somebody who have killed all sorts of people, destroy all sorts of dreams, then you say you're taking them to court. I think you really don't get anything meaningful out of that, and that's why it's continuing to repeat itself.
And you think that the AU actually has, that trend? And when you talk about the US, for instance, remember that its intervention even in the Russia-Ukraine war, is being criticized in some quarters because some people feel that President Trump has a soft spot for Russia. For instance, the summit holding tomorrow, the Ukrainian president would not be a part of it. And so there are questions as to what agreements would be reached behind one of the parties to the conflict.
Okay, so it's a function of comparing which is better. Do you want to have a situation where you completely leave them to themselves and you know for a fact that you're not going to get any result out of it, or to explore the option of having a US step in and you're hopeful that you then have something better? What I'm suggesting is that we should have external bodies, those who are capable. For instance, I keep asking myself, really, are we benefiting from the constitution of the African Union? Really, what kind of benefit are countries benefiting from it? Because we need to have a situation where we're able to really stem the problem whenever it starts. Because it seems to me that we'll talk about sovereignty and people will then continue to do what they like, and at the end of the day, children suffer, women suffer, the rest of us suffer, because then those countries, you then have people moving from their countries to other countries, and they can come all the way down here. Definitely. And at the end of the day, we start dealing with the negative effect of such problem. I think it's something we need to find a way of solving as a people generally in the world.
Oluwaseyi Adeomo is publisher, Inside Watch Africa. Thank you very much for your time on World Now.
Thank you so much for having me.